Indiana Fever had no business winning a playoff series this year, had no business advancing to the semifinals for the first time in a decade. And yet here they are, eliminating the Atlanta Dream in Atlanta without Caitlin Clark, without Sophie Cunningham, without Sid Colson, without Erin McDonald, without Chloe Bibby. The hospital squad is on the bench, and yet the Indiana Fever are into the semifinals of the WNBA play. And then the coaching of Stephanie White. Like, she is working with a 9-woman rotation, and 5 of those players did not even touch the court the last time the Fever played the Dream during the regular season, and 3 of those players weren't even on the team. Like, I cannot say it enough. The Indiana Fever should not be here. They continue to be here. They battle. They're resilient. It's wildly impressive. Caitlin Clark wore the black Air Force Ones again. They had one of those forces lifted in the air like a beacon of hope, and now they'll face the
Picture this. You step off the team bus, and the first thing you hear isn't just noise. It's a wall of sound that shakes the pavement under your feet. Every corner of the arena is drenched in red and black. Signs waving, fans chanting, cameras flashing. But not a single voice in that building is cheering for you. In fact, they're waiting to see you fail. Now add this. 6 of your teammates are out. Not just role players, key contributors, leaders, people you've relied on all season. The bench is thin, the rotation is shaky, and every expert already stamped your ticket home before the ball even hit the hardwood. And then, the spotlight hits center court. Aliyah Wilson, the face of the league, the unstoppable force, the reigning champion, walks forward to accept her 3rd MVP trophy. The arena erupts like it's already over. It feels less like a basketball game and more like a coronation, a royal ceremony where your team is cast as the unfortunate extras. Everything is telling you this is a funeral. Not just a loss, but an embarrassing blowout on national television. The banners, the chants, the analysts, the stats, even the odds in Vegas, all stacked against you. But here's where sports becomes magic. Instead of crumbling under the weight of that moment, the Indiana Fever used it as gasoline. They took every doubt, every dismissal, every "you don't belong here," and turned it into fire. What happened next wasn't just surprising, it was shocking. And what Caitlin Clark said after the game left the entire league wondering if this wasn't just one win, but the start of something much bigger.
Particular matchup, Aces Fever, game 1. We're not deciding the whole series right now, just game 1.
Should we do it together?
I think we should do it together because my spidey sense is telling me they might be the same. 3, 2, 1.
Aces.
They're not going to lose after she just won MVP.
Yeah, period.
The story of Game 1 didn't begin at the opening tip. It began hours earlier, in the narrative everyone thought was already written. The Fever weren't just underdogs. They were a skeleton crew. 6 players missing. Depth chart gutted. A matchup against the reigning back-to-back champions, in their house, on their night of celebration. Analysts weren't debating if Indiana would lose. They were debating by how much. Some said 20 points. Others said 30. The general consensus? Indiana simply had no path to victory. And why would they? Vegas was loaded. Aliyah Wilson standing at the height of her powers. Jackie Young, one of the most versatile guards in the league. Chelsea Gray orchestrating the offense like a chess master. The Aces weren't just talented, they were battle-tested, champions forged in playoff fire. Inside the arena, it felt like a scripted event. The MVP awards ceremony wasn't subtle. It was a reminder to Indiana that they weren't in Las Vegas to compete, they were there to witness. The crowd wasn't preparing for a contest. They were preparing for a party. For the Fever, the stage was overwhelming. Imagine sitting on the bench before tip-off, hearing thousands of people scream for your opponent. Watching confetti fall for someone else's accomplishment, feeling every camera aimed at you only because people want to watch your downfall. But here's the thing about sports, the script isn't always followed. Games aren't played on paper, and odds don't dictate effort. As the ball went up, the story everyone expected started to crack. The impossible setup became the perfect backdrop for an upset nobody saw coming.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the real Aces yet. They caught us when we were at a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
Underdogs don't just play the game. They carry a different type of energy. That's what Indiana brought. It wasn't desperation. It wasn't nerves. It was fire. The same fire that has fueled every great upset in sports history, from March Madness to the finals. You could see it early. Indiana didn't shrink when the Aces hit their first shots. They didn't fold when the arena exploded with noise. Instead, they leaned into it. They moved faster. They attacked harder. The more Vegas expected them to fade, the more the Fever looked like they belonged. And the shockwaves started spreading. Because this wasn't supposed to happen. If Game 1 had a headliner, it wasn't the MVP on the other side. It was Kelsey Mitchell. On a night when Caitlin Clark was expected to be the story, Mitchell turned the spotlight directly on herself, and she didn't miss. 34 points. Think about that. It wasn't just volume scoring. It was efficiency, confidence, and sheer dominance. She hit threes, slashed to the rim, knocked down free throws, and looked unstoppable from start to finish. Every time Vegas made a run, Mitchell answered with a dagger. The history books opened up. Mitchell became the first Fever player to drop 30-plus in a playoff game since 2012. She also set the WNBA record for most points in a semifinal debut. That's not just impressive, that's legendary. And when Caitlin Clark was asked about it afterward, her reaction summed it up perfectly. Kelsey, unreal.
First semifinal appearance, just what's your emotional state right now?
Normal, I think. It's practice. Trying to prepare like anybody else would, like any other day. But keep the main things.
Tell your younger self.
Yeah.
How would you explain to her to make sure that you give yourself grace and give you the flowers that you so willingly deserve?
Ooh, I think the best thing I could have done was, I had a long list. I wrote down a list of all the times I could have quit, been a pro, playing with the Indiana Fever. I wrote down all the people that wrote me off. I wrote it down on a list. I wrote down all the coaches that didn't want me around. I wrote down all the media outlets that didn't want to talk to me. I think that within itself is like, you got to tell your younger self not to give up on you. Because it's been a lot of times I could have given up when I know a lot of people that talk to me now wasn't talking to me, and I know what it was like when they wasn't. So that part is big for me.
But this upset wasn't just about one scorer. It was about the battle in the paint. Aliyah Wilson, the newly crowned MVP, is used to dictating the game. Normally, she makes the rules. But on this night, Aliyah Boston forced her to play a different kind of basketball. Wilson still put up numbers, but nothing came easy. Every rebound was a fight. Every shot was contested. For the first time in a long time, Aliyah looked human. And that was the difference. There was symbolism in it too. Wilson had just been celebrated as the league's best. But Boston, young and fearless, disrupted her entire rhythm. It felt like a passing of the torch moment, not in awards or headlines, but in presence. Great upsets never come from one star. They come from a team. And Indiana's supporting cast turned this game into something unforgettable. Lexi Hull, she shadowed Jackie Young all night, making her work for every bucket, then stepped up to knock down critical threes when Indiana needed them. Odyssey Sims, she came off the bench and injected instant chaos, pushing tempo, attacking gaps, making Vegas uncomfortable in transition. Natasha Howard, a double-double machine, crashing the boards like it was her personal mission to out-rebound the Aces by herself. And Brianna Turner? She might not fill the stat sheet, but her rim protection flipped the paint battle. Vegas couldn't bully their way inside the way they usually do. Every single Fever player who touched the floor contributed. That's how you win a game you're not supposed to.
Respect everyone, fear no one. Woo! Sounds in the chat. Oh! Dumb. That's one. That's big time. That's big time.
You can't talk about this upset without giving credit to Stephanie White. With 6 players out, rotations cut short, and the pressure of playing the defending champs, she delivered a masterclass. She kept Indiana's pace relentless. She found mismatches and exploited them. She made defensive adjustments that forced the Aces to settle for tough shots. By the time Becky Hammon realized her team was in a fight, the Fever had already established control. Even Hammon admitted after the game, "They had us on our heels. We didn't have answers. This wasn't luck. It was strategy." Indiana didn't stumble into a win. They earned it with preparation and execution. Now here's the real question. Was this just a one-game fluke, or is it something more? History says that teams who lose Game 1 still have a 28% chance of winning the series. The Aces are champions for a reason, and you better believe Aya Wilson and Jackie Young aren't going to stay quiet in Game 2. Vegas will adjust. They'll be angry. They'll be hunting for redemption. But here's the twist. For Indiana, the pressure is suddenly different. They're not just underdogs anymore. They're leaders in the series. That changes everything. If they win Game 2, this doesn't look like an upset anymore. It looks like destiny.
Feel good. I mean, our group has seen it all. We wanted to come in and be the aggressor right away to make sure that we were dictating on the defensive end and we were dictating from a pace standpoint. They're champions for a reason. We knew that they were going to make runs. They made a big one in the third and we responded with a big one. I'm proud of our team. It's one game. It's a long series. So, we got to keep the main thing, but to come in here and to be able to steal this one was big for us. We've got to keep the main thing, and that is us playing to a standard of basketball that we want to have as an Indiana Fever organization and franchise. We've got to keep our layers. The outside, the people in our building, and the people in our locker room. And the thing I'm just so proud of with this group is it doesn't matter who's on the floor. It doesn't matter who's on our roster. They give each other the freedom to be themselves. They empower one another to be themselves and to be the best version of themselves. And every time we've had a change, every time we've brought someone in, every time we've had rotational changes, they're for each other. They live the we over the me. And when you have that, it just gives you opportunities to do really special.
The Indiana Fever walked into Las Vegas as afterthoughts. They walked out as giant killers. Kelsey Mitchell carved her name into playoff history. Aliyah Boston stood toe-to-toe with the MVP. And a team missing half its roster showed the world what we over me really means. Game 1 wasn't just a win. It was a statement. And if Indiana can do it again, the story shifts from upset to full-blown finals contender. So the question is simple. Can the Fever keep rewriting history? Or will Vegas storm back and remind everyone why they're champions? Drop your predictions in the comments, because this series is just getting started.